Viewers, before this story unfolds, drop your location and local time in the comments. I always love seeing where folks are tuning in from. Now picture this, it's just after 9 a.m., coffee still steaming in his hand when he steps onto the deck barefoot and finds a fluorescent orange sticker slapped across the hull of his fishing boat. The thing looks like radioactive duct tape, screaming violation in all caps. And standing on the dock across the water is Karen Tillman, the HOA president, headset blinking, clipboard clutched like it's the Magna Carta. She points at his boat like she's spotting an incoming submarine, and the absurdity makes him laugh so hard he spills coffee straight onto his bare foot. Scholars still argue whether caffeine burns or HOA burns sting worse. She doesn't laugh, though. She shouts like a drill sergeant, "Move it in 48 hours," or face daily fines, county enforcement, even lake access revoked. Which is strange since he doesn't rent the lake. He owns it. Deed water rights, mud, and minnows included. Karen, clearly operating on HOA autopilot, hadn't done her homework. So when she mutters into her headset, he's non-compliant, like she's reporting a fugitive, he makes a silent promise this won't end with him peeling off a sticker. If she wants war, she'll get a lesson in property law. Over the next 2 days, the comedy escalates. First come the fines paper slips duct taped to his boat, each signed in blue gel pen like Karen was autographing her own rage. Then the newsletter, a grainy Zoom photo of his boat labeled "Community Rule Breaker Endangers Lake Harmony." He almost drops his tackle box laughing. But the mood shifts when he overhears Karen bragging at the clubhouse, first the boat, then the dock. Gloves off, his sanctuary is under attack. So he calls Martin, his old college buddy turned county assessor. They unroll the survey map on a truck hood, the paper crinkling like destiny. Martin adjusts his glasses, squints and says, "It plain you own it all, every inch." Historians still argue whether there's a more satisfying phrase in property disputes. That night, under a coin-bright moon, he decides revenge won't be loud. It'll be legal, silent, devastating. By morning, 100 cream-colored notices are printed, smelling faintly of smugness. He hands them out at the HOA brunch meeting like party favors. Karen's face drains from pink to sheet white when she realizes the HOA's playground ends 6 feet from the shoreline. Docks on his water. They're either paying rent or getting removed. A neighbor actually claps. Karen storms out, clipboard flapping like a wounded gull. But he isn't done. On Monday, new signs go up. Private waters violators will be towed. Same font, same italic sass the HOA uses. Kayaks slink home like guilty sea turtles. Karen leaves him a voicemail that starts fake polite and ends with drawer-slamming fury. He saves it to favorites. Then his lawyer drafts lease agreements. Reasonable terms for neighbors, but motivating ones for Karen. Watching her open that certified envelope, expressions cycling like a slot machine. Confusion, indignation, mild cardiac arrest. Feels like justice served, chilled. The HOA calls an emergency meeting, and Tom Brennan, neighbor, chess partner, former treasurer, ousted by Karen, calls him afterward, barely able to breathe through his laughter. Karen tried to spin it as a miscommunication, but the members weren't buying. Why were their slips suddenly off limits? Why hadn't she checked lake ownership? And when asked if she'd considered apologizing, her voice reportedly hit a pitch only smoke detectors respect. She even threatened to build her own lake. Historians still argue whether that was ambition or comedy. That weekend, she doubles down in the newsletter, penning a full-page rant about selfish water hoarders. He frames it like fine art. Then she launches a paddle parade, neighbors in sparkly vests, trespassing in flotilla form. He doesn't argue, he calls the sheriff. And wouldn't you know it, Deputy Joe Keller shows up, his cousin's brother-in-law, who's shared beers on this very dock. Joe issues polite warnings, deadpans to Karen. "Ma'am, are you making a point or just wet paper?" The video hits the internet, racks up 30,000 views, and the comments section is a buffet of popcorn emojis. Karen tries another pivot, a Lake Unity forum. 5 attendees, one only there for free donuts. Then she assembles a lake usage committee, basically retirees with whiteboards, and a guy named Dennis wearing twin Bluetooth earpieces like he's transmitting from NASA. They propose dock schedules, lake time allocations, even a community flag system. He just slides them an invoice, retroactive lease fees for 3 years, complete with itemized charts. Dennis chokes on his coffee. Karen's shade of maroon doesn't exist in nature. Members start emailing him directly, asking about fair terms, installment plans, even discounts. He explains calmly his fight isn't with them, it's with tyranny. Karen responds by filing complaints, hosting a charity gala with elevator jazz on a Bluetooth speaker, and finally taking him to the County Lakeside Oversight Committee. She shows up with binders, poster boards, and a crime show circle around his fishing photo. He brings a flash drive. 10 minutes later, unanimous ruling the lake is his. Appeals based on emotional dissatisfaction are politely denied. He even leaves the panel with a signed copy of Karen's newsletter masterpiece for their break room. By week's end, 2 board members resign, one scribbling, "I didn't sign up for lake warfare." Karen tries a Save Our Shoreline gala. Barely 10 people show. Meanwhile, he installs solar boundary lights around the lake. At night, they glow like a constellation of consequence. Neighbors begin dropping by with cookies, kids, and whispered complaints about HOA bullying. Somehow, he's become a folk hero. The local paper runs a story titled Dock Dynasty. Karen is quoted promising, "This is not over, this is just a ripple in a larger wave." Scholars still argue whether she meant tsunami or just splashing around in denial. But he knows the war is moving to a deeper level. Not just boats or docks anymore. It's about pulling up the foundation of her power entirely. And he has a plan tucked away in the bylaws, a recall clause like a hidden blade. All it takes is 30% signatures. And the neighbors, they're more than ready to sign. He and Tom sit at Tom's kitchen table, stale coffee between them, dissecting the dusty HOA charter like archaeologists on a dig. There it is in faded ink. Paragraph 13, subsection E2. Validated complaints in a term triggers a recall vote with just 30% signatures. He drafts letters, hand-delivers them. Some neighbors sign with relief, some with glee. One even adds a doodle of Karen's clipboard on fire. Within a week, 35 signatures are collected, more than enough. The secretary's eyebrows disappear into his hairline when he reads them. The recall is officially scheduled. Karen rallies, grilling hot dogs in a sash that reads, "Community first," handing out charred buns like burnt bribes. But people drift toward him instead, sipping lemonade and chatting about the lake. Next comes her newsletter bombshell accusing him of plotting a private helipad. He nearly spills coffee laughing. Still, fear-mongering backfires. Folks are exhausted, flowerbed disputes, fence, citations, yoga bans. They're ready for calm. The vote night feels cinematic. Standing room only, neighbors buzzing like it's a season finale. Karen pleads tears real or rehearsed about weeds she once uprooted. Silence. Then paper slips collected, counted. 63 for recall, 18 against. No confetti, just a long exhale across the room. Karen walks out, wordless, clipboard dangling like a broken wing. Tom, the man she ousted years ago, is suddenly president. Within 24 hours, he dissolves half the nonsense rules and formally recognizes the lake as sovereign. The storm feels over. But Karen doesn't fade quietly. She plants a new sign, Karen's Clubhouse Private Event Space. It's laughable, like a child declaring a pillow fort a kingdom. She hosts awkward brunches, lectures, kids for straying near the water parades, followers in lake awareness marches. He sends cease and desist letters. She answers with flyers accusing him of manipulation, even printing his address. That crosses the line. He compiles evidence, false posts, trespass logs, neighbor testimonies, even sprinkler footage soaking her parade. Scholars still argue whether it was tactical genius or just poetic irrigation. Then comes the twist. Unknown to her, the old clubhouse lot was never truly hers. It reverted to county ownership years back, and while she's busy playing queen in exile, he quietly buys it. The phone call arrives, deed finalized, building his. Suddenly, Karen is trespassing on his land. He hires a crew to post bold new signs, private property, Lawson Lake Holdings. Word spreads fast. Karen melts down, calls, texts, rants on his dock, but when he hands her the deed in an envelope, she has nothing left. Within 48 hours, she's loading a U-Haul alone. The building becomes something better. He leases it to a community center, fills it with youth classes, science lessons, real laughter instead of rule reading. The lake glows under new boundary lights, free of patrols and paper fines. One morning, Tom brings muffins and a newspaper Karen fined for unauthorized signage. Not much money, but the symbolism feels cosmic. Neighbors wave from porches, now children fish without scolding. And one evening he spots Karen again, no clipboard, no entourage. Just a tired woman staring at the water she once claimed. She turns, walks away, and the story finally exhales. That weekend he hosts a quiet picnic by the lake. Folding chairs, hot dogs, lemonade. No rules, no citations. A neighbor claps his shoulder and says, "We didn't know we needed someone to own the lake until someone finally did it right." He doesn't take it as praise, more like a reminder revolutions sometimes begin with refusing to move a boat. As dusk falls, he lights a lantern on the dock, watches the reflection stretch across calm water. The war that began with an orange sticker ends here in silence and peace. The lake sleeps like it always wanted to, patient, steady, unruled. The story slows here softer now, each word like a ripple crossing the lake at twilight. Imagine that quiet. No committee chatter, no false alarms, no sticky notes of violation fluttering in the wind. Just the hush of water against wood and the faint whistle of a nightbird somewhere beyond the tree line. He leans back, breathing deep, and the lake seems to breathe with him, its surface mirroring the sky in one unbroken sheet of silver. Sometimes peace arrives not with a shout, but with the absence of one. The neighbors who once argued over dock schedules now share lemonade on porches. The clubhouse, once a nest of gossip, holds children's laughter and the scratch of chalk on learning boards. Even the solar lights along the boundary glow differently, no longer harsh warnings, but quiet markers of a space reclaimed and respected. He thinks about Karen, how power can twist people into roles they never meant to play, and how letting go is harder than holding on. But her shadow fades now, leaving only the lesson that a lake, like a community, cannot be ruled by fear. It has to be held by respect. So if you find yourself staring down a storm of pettiness, remember this dock, this lantern, this man who simply refused to move his boat. Because sometimes the bravest act isn't raising your voice, it's holding your ground until the noise drifts away. And with that thought, let the sound of the water settle. You let the image of the lantern's glow guide you to stillness. Tonight, may your mind be as calm as that lake, your dreams untroubled, your heart unburdened. Sleep easy. The war is over and peace belongs to you too.